We are live. I think we're maybe a minute early, but let's jump in. Brandon, it is March 3rd, 2022, Thursday. Current price of Bitcoin, well, about 5 minutes ago, was $42,000, 253. That's US. Uh, Over the last week, we are up 10.2%. We're up 9.1% over the last month, and we are down 16.3% year over year. The market cap is currently about $805 billion. Spend output profit ratio is 1.002. We did see a little spiking earlier this week when we jumped from 37 to 43K or something from Sunday to Monday. We saw a slight spike in SOPR, so maybe some people selling off. Weak hands, don't know what to say about it, but feel sorry for them. Current block height is 725,800 with a mean block interval of about 10 minutes and 43 seconds. Brandon, love the hat. Tell us what you got going on over there. What was the cost of that? Looks expensive. What's going on, man?
Yeah, so luckily I didn't sell any sats to buy it, but yeah, I mean, worth the purchase. I figured last time I was pounding twists and teas, and I didn't really have my hands free. I like to talk with my hands a little bit, a little bingo, a little bango. So I figured, might as well just get a little bit more prepared. Oh shit, this thing's falling out already. But I had a little mix.
I see some beer coming down the straw too.
So I had a little mix up at the beginning. I'm not going to lie to you. I opened them and I was like, okay, I'll sit here, just sip while I'm waiting. And, and I started drinking it. And then I realized like, hey, if it's like so deep because like the straws, the way it works, like if I take one sip, it's just going to keep coming. So I had like a panic attack for a second and I was like, oh shit, like I have to either chug or like take these straws out. So I'm wearing a little bit of this Twisted Tea. I'm not gonna lie, on my Yeezy 2020 sweater. I also brought a cup just in case, like just in case it malfunctions, and I brought some paper towels just in case too. So I'm fully prepared for the stream.
So wait, so you've got, is there just one straw that's coming out of both Twisted Teas? Like, what's going on? Are the straws inside
So
the
the
Twisted
straws
Teas?
are connected through this like little thing here.
Oh,
So there's like technically there's like three separate straws and they're connected by this one center piece. And then then it comes all the way. Oh shit. I just spilled
wow.
it all over myself.
That's electric.
Yeah,
Dude,
Amazon Prime.
the
Thanks, Jeff
techno
Bezos.
the technology these days is insane. Like even 5 years ago, you would have never thought of like that something like this would exist.
Oh, 100%. You can't make this stuff up.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I've got my own edition this week. I don't know if you can see it behind me, but new poster came in today. It's got our classic catchphrase, friends and enemies, and then it's got our logo there. So excited to have that up on the wall. Shout out to no free advertising, but shout out to Canva because this poster was about $15, shipped in about, I don't know, 5 days or something. Looks great, feels great, good material. Really happy with it.
Yeah, it looks really good, to be honest with you. I mean, honestly, that yeah, for all the content creators out there, consider getting Canva, no free ads, but they've helped us out with a lot of stuff. So, all right, well, we have some major housekeeping to go over. So I feel like we need to rip the Band-Aid off first.
Yeah, you
So,
want to do that first, and then we'll jump into I was kind of a light news week anyways, so yeah.
Dan, why don't you tell us what you got going on? Tell us what's up.
Yeah, so this is will unfortunately be for the time being my last State of Bitcoin podcast. I've accepted a position with the company that that is not keen on having people do podcasts. So yeah, for the time being, I will no longer be on our podcasts or listed on our newsletters. So unfortunate, man. But Brandon, it's been a great ride, man, and I just wanted to thank you so much for bringing me on board. And I appreciate it. It's like the number of people that we've met doing this has been awesome, and yeah, so just thank you, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. So I guess I'll start off by saying, Dan, working with Dan is always great. Me and you go way back, maybe like 10 years or 10 years plus at this point now. So, you're always my homie. Green Candle's always going to have a spot for you if you ever decide to come back. And, Yeah, you'll be missed, but the show will go on. So everybody in the in the crowd or in that listens to us, everybody that knows us, I'll keep holding it down while Dan is maybe on a little hiatus. I don't think he'll retire completely, but um, you'll definitely be missed. I guess I got to hold it down and I got to figure out how to get some interviews here or there. So I'm not out here just drinking and talking by myself because that's a little depressing. So, um, yeah, I hate to see you go, to be honest with you, but I'm really happy for this opportunity for you. Um, it's really well deserved. And, as a friend, I couldn't be happier for you. So, I understand, and like I said, you'll be missed, and I'll probably be crying a little bit on each of these streams by myself, or maybe I'll just rip on you. I don't know.
You'll
I'll
you'll you'll get to find out what it's like to just drink alone on a Thursday, Friday night, right? Which is what I've been
I
doing
know.
for the last
Usually, I,
couple
I
weeks.
drink on the streams and stuff, and then I go out and then see with friends. Well, now it's like fuck. Well, I'm actually drinking alone and not just talking to friends in the metaverse, apparently. So, yeah, really tough news, honestly, for Green Candle, but the show will still go on. So, tell your friends even more because I need more. I need the support. To kind of keep pushing and everything like that. So, everybody that's been with us from the start, I really appreciate it. And help me hold it down until Dan gets a comeback, and yeah, help me grow so then I can convince Dan that we're making enough money to quit his other job. So, all right, but yeah, let's get into it. What do you want to do? You want to start with your stories or start with mine?
Yeah, I mean, let's try to make it an absolute banger here for the fans too. They're tuning in, they're taking time out of their Thursday night. I see we got it looks like actually all Canadians, which is weird. I mean, we're like the you should rebrand Brandon. I think what you should do is just call it the greatest North American Bitcoiners podcast. Um,
Yeah, that's probably it. I mean, we have the
Canada
voice
included.
NFT already of the friends and enemies. We got the poster going.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, definitely going forward. But yeah, let's get it rolling. So Dan, what do you got for the first story? I know you got something about Intel, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing we have to get out of the way here is that we were, I was, Brandon, I won't lump you in with me, but I was completely wrong about Intel. Wasn't wrong. Look, they released their first gen stuff at that conference at the end of February. And look, for like the amount of hype that people were putting into it, it just wasn't good. It looked really, it just wasn't a competitive mining system. Well, they didn't technically release information about their second gen, at least as far as I know. They haven't released it themselves publicly, but it was listed in a filing from Grid, an SEC filing from one of their customers, Grid Mining. And the details actually look pretty good. So apparently their BMZ2, their Bonanza Mine Generation 2, provides 135 terahash per second at 3,510 watts with an efficiency of 26 joules per terahash second, which puts it right there in the running with some of the other top of the class mining systems from Bitmain. So look, I'm willing to admit it. I was wrong about Intel. It looks like they could seriously come out with a competitive product here, and I'd still like to see them bring down the wattage, as much as they were hyping it up as a low voltage miner. I think they could bring it down a bit. My understanding is that they were trying to make kind of a home miner. This certainly wouldn't be a home miner. I imagine it's doing a lot. It's having a lot of the same friction points that traditional miners have. So, as far as like noise and heat and electric power consumption, so we'll see. I mean, this is only their second gen. It's We'll see. I mean, who knows? Third gen comes out. Maybe they're all of a sudden top of the food chain.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, personally thought that Intel at the beginning, they kind of rushed their first set, and now they're kind of showing everybody, all right, we are Intel, we do know what we're doing when it comes to the chip game, and they created definitely a lot better product in the second gen, and it seems like the third gen will probably be more of the same, and improve even more. So these big chip manufacturers are kind of realizing, hey, this is a big ass market. We got to get in and we got to get in quick. So, I think more and more people are just going to keep, getting into these Bitcoin mining space, and they see the value and they see the amount of money that can be made. And you know what? At the end of the day, money talks, no matter how big your business is or anything like that. So, yeah, I think you were definitely wrong. I never doubted Intel, and I never will. But yeah, I mean, hand up, Dan, you fucked up. So I mean, on the last show, I can't. On his last show, I can't even let him get off it easy or anything like that. I have to call him out where it is. I call him how I see it. I'm the guy with the twisted T hat on, and you never expect anybody with this kind of hat to lie. So,
But it's big of me. You have to admit it's big of me. It's big of me to admit when I was wrong.
oh, huge. It is.
It
And
takes a big person to do
it's
that.
big of me to admit that I wasn't wrong too. I mean, it's
That's
hard
true.
to, yeah. I mean, I don't like to pat myself on the back, but sometimes you got to. So
Yeah.
I
Hey, no,
don't,
I
who
get
else
it.
will?
I get it. But yeah, that's what I got. I think it's a pretty straightforward story. Look, they're getting competitive, and I think especially with everything that's happening globally now, agree or disagree, but uh, it seems pretty likely that China might make a move on Taiwan, which is a huge source of semiconductor chips. So just having this North American base, I think, is going to be big for American mining companies and even Canadian mining companies, which we're watching blow up. Right, they're getting absolutely massive in the States and in Canada. So having a North American based company that could provide mining systems or just mining chips, I think is big. We talk about that all the time, doing in-house development. Well, now maybe a company doesn't have to worry about vertical integration if Intel's involved. So yeah, could be big, man. Could be big stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And their biggest client is going to be Block. So, I mean, as a Block guy, that's going to be big going forward too. So, definitely something to look out for. All right, well, let's move on to my first story. So the city of Lugano is planning on making Bitcoin legal tender. So I don't know if you saw this. It's like a smaller Swiss city. And yeah, they had like a 50-minute or so interview. And basically, the summary of it is like this one city is going to make Bitcoin legal tender. And they're calling it like Europe's quote unquote plan B. So, what do you think about it? And then I'll kind of go into my deep dive. I want to get the old Danny boy's first opinion, you know.
Oh, I was missing the mute button there. Yeah, I mean, how many times are we going to see this, Brandon? How many people are going to make it? Like at some point, everyone's going to capitulate, right? So I don't know. Give me the breakdown. Like, give me some of the details on this thing.
Well, essentially, they had like a big giant interview, and the city, came down and just said, like, yeah, they're gonna make it legal tender. They're going to, file for it and everything like that. And exactly what you said. Like, eventually, like cities, companies, we're seeing it kind of like in a microcosm in the United States, right? We've kind of talked about this a few times, where it's like, okay, cities and states that shut down. Drastically affected different states, like in the United States, like Florida, Tennessee, and where we're at, where they didn't shut down. So some of these cities are realizing, like, hey, the way that other cities and other jurisdictions handled COVID and handled everything else is drastically affecting us because we're all under the same monetary policy. And so in Switzerland specifically, this one city is like realizing, hey, like, maybe we were a little bit more open. They're a smaller city, but they're realizing, hey, like this Bitcoin as a legal tender could be something that's big and could be something that drastically benefits us. So I think like El Salvador coming in and making it legal tender last year is probably the biggest thing that could have happened for Bitcoin, because you need you need one country or one city to make it legal tender, and then everybody's going to sit back and watch the experiment happen and see how successful it is, right? But at the end of the day, the media perception, at least in the United States, is it's a failure. I even had my dad call me today and was like, I was telling him about all this stuff, and he was like, yeah, I was listening to the news, like you should watch it. There was like a 60 Minutes or a Real Sports with Brian Gumble or something, and they were talking about Bitcoin. And he was like, yeah, I should send that to you. They were saying how El Salvador making it legal tender was super bad and it's too volatile and it's really not beneficial for the country or anything like that. And I was like, Dad, did you not see, like, they built a full new veterinary hospital. They're building other hospitals. They're building a bunch of different infrastructure. They're bringing in more tourism than they ever did before. And it's just so many things that making Bitcoin legal tender has benefited this country, that like cities and states and other countries are seeing like, hey, this is not just like a small thing. It's not a publicity stunt. It helps in all aspects. It helps with the reputation of the city, and it helps with just getting exposure, as well as the monetary policy. So overall, I think this city kind of recognized that it's beneficial, and I think more and more cities going forward, as well as countries, are going to see it. And as you can hear, my dog Max is not very happy that I'm sitting here recording with Twisted Teas and ignoring him, but tis life.
Max is a Bitcoin bear. Everyone knows it. He hates that El Salvador has made Bitcoin legal tender. We can read your lips, bud. We know exactly what you just said.
I said, and I quote, Max, shut the fuck up.
Man, yeah. So, I mean, the other thing that you say to your dad in this scenario is, well, why is gas up? Gas is up, Brandon, in my city, literally 100% year over year today. When I moved here, which was about a year ago, I remember paying, uh, it was like 203. And I remember thinking 203, what is going on? Because I moved here from Alabama, and where I was living in Alabama, gas was, I don't know, like a buck 85 a gallon, or a 195 on a bad day. And then I got up here and I was like, oh man, it's over $2. What's going on? Well, today I filled up for 399. So explain that to me. Why, like, if
Oh my
Bitcoin's so
god, three
volatile,
ninety nine.
dude,
Holy
399.
shit!
Yeah.
I filled up for 354 today, and I was furious. So God,
It's
399. I can't even
expensive.
imagine. And that makes like a drastic difference. Like people don't realize, like, okay, luckily now I have a new position, and I'm not driving like quite as much. But when I fill up now, I definitely notice it. It used to be like 30 to $35 to fill up my tank, and now it's $50. And for somebody that has to commute to work, or drive their kids to school, like all these other things, that's a drastic difference. Somebody that's putting a lot of miles on their car, you gotta fill up with gas, and then not only on top of that, your car depreciating, your car breaks down. Used car prices are now through the roof. We actually talked about that a little bit on our Twitter Spaces on not this past Tuesday, but the one before. We'll probably be releasing a clip on our YouTube sometime soon too. But yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. And I actually had a Twitter thread on this somewhat today, that like prices everywhere are just going up, where it's like the gig economy is not like a cool fad anymore. It's definitely here to stay, because people are realizing that, hey, I need to make some extra income, and if you don't have multiple income streams, you're fucked. Because like money's just going out the window in every aspect. So
Well, yeah, thank God one of our Canadian boys here in the chat got me into oil and gas stocks, because I don't have to worry too much about the $4 at the station when I'm watching my XOM go through the roof. So yeah, man, I don't know, this is the stuff that really pisses me off, though, when people talk about Bitcoin being volatile. It's like, well, but the US dollar, what's the US dollar doing for me when I really need it? And you can say, oh, US dollar, like the 7% inflation stuff is absolute nonsense. Like I just said, gas for me is up 100%. Red meat's through the roof. You can't find beef anywhere, and when you do, it's ridiculously expensive. What's not going up, though, is all the junk food, all the all the shit that you really shouldn't have in your grocery cart. That's the stuff that's staying stable. And even that's not staying that stable, right? It's going up 10 cents, 15 cents, and that's where your 7% comes from. That's your basket of goods, because that's what 70% of people are buying nowadays. It's terrible. It's like, and they put that stuff in there because you can't hide inflation in stuff that matters, like gas, like housing, like red meat. These things are things where you can't hide inflation. So, but that's the stuff I want. I want a house. I drive a car. I want to eat red meat. Like, so that's my basket of goods. So this stuff just pisses me off, man. When people say Bitcoin's too volatile, like then they're obviously not looking at any of the stuff that that's happening with other products in the U.S. products that you should be buying.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, you could probably find ketchup chips for about the same price everywhere else. I know somebody in this chat was chirping at us, but I mean, exactly like you're saying. There's like shit food. There's the soy boys that are out there. Our good friend Joey, the Canadian Bitcoiners podcast. He loves his soy burgers, so he's probably sitting fine. But for us men that like, the red meat and lift weights and don't do cardio all the time, it's really tough. But yeah, I mean, inflation's a killer, and it's here to stay. So, all right, let's move on to your next story. I know you got something on a company called Flexport. Why don't you
Yeah,
explain what Flexport does and why they're in the Bitcoin news?
sure. So just before I start, have you ever heard of Flexport? Had you ever heard of Flexport before this story?
I had not, to be honest.
Right. So neither had I. And then I started looking into it. Holy shit, this company is massive. They just finished up a funding round, raised 935 million. That values their company at just over $8 billion. This is an $8 billion company. They are a digital freight forwarder, so they're basically a logistics software company. I actually have a good buddy, my best friend growing up back home. He does this in a like kind of a small logistics company too. It's a logistics software company for truckers, and he had never heard of them. So like, how many people had not heard of this company? But anyways, the point of this story is on Twitter, the CEO of the company, whose name is something Peterson. I'm forgetting his first name. There he is. Ryan Peterson posted a Twitter thread about everything that's happening in Europe and how it's going to affect shipping logistics and supply chains. Of course, we've had supply chain issues now for 2 years. This is not going to make things any easier. It's probably going to worsen them. And so he posted a long thread. And at the end of that thread, he basically had a tweet that said, we have a $1.6 billion balance sheet because we prepare for uncertainties like this in supply chain breakdowns. And someone had commented, what percentage of that 1.6 billion on the balance sheet is in hard money, aka Bitcoin? To this, Ryan Peterson responded, we don't disclose that, but it's not zero. Okay, so here's an $8 billion company that's probably going to disrupt, it's probably going to disrupt supply chain logistics type things the same way Uber disrupted taxi services, holding Bitcoin on the balance sheet. Some of their backers are like SoftBank. So I think this is absolutely massive. They're not making these decisions lightly. I guarantee it. And they're betting on Bitcoin. So now, are they betting as big as someone like Michael Saylor's bet? Maybe not. Doesn't seem like it. Seems like they'd probably be a little more vocal about it if they were. But they've definitely got some amount of Bitcoin on their balance sheet. I think it's huge.
Oh, I mean, for the size of the company and what they're trying to accomplish, it's massive. They're definitely trying to disrupt the supply chain issues and everything like that. And for them to just even hint that they have Bitcoin on the balance sheet, I mean, it makes me think like how many more of these companies have Bitcoin on the balance sheet, but they're just not disclosing it. So there's probably a lot of private companies out there that are starting to kind of catch the bug and get that orange pill. So definitely something to look out for going forward. I wish CEOs like this would kind of hint at it a little bit more, but they don't necessarily have to. I mean, Green Candle has some Bitcoin on the balance sheet. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But we're not going to disclose how much.
Well, yeah. The other thing too, right, is Flexport isn't a public company, so they don't have to. Like MicroStrategy, I think, has to legally.
Well, exactly. Yeah, that's what I mean is a lot of these private companies, they don't have to disclose this thing, but it makes me believe that, Flexport's one of these massive private companies, they have to have more, there has to be more private companies that have Bitcoin on the balance sheet. It's just like it makes sense.
Yeah, 100% agree. You froze there for a second. Hopefully nothing's going on. My VPN is off. My VPN is absolutely crushing me in some of these streams, but no, it's off. All right.
All right, Dan. So let's move on to the next story. So I not to toot my own horn, wrote a little story on BTC Times. I don't know if you saw it,
A
but it's
piece. You wrote a
it
piece.
a piece. I wrote a piece of literature. And it's about the company Consensus. Have you heard of them before?
This was another company that I didn't know anything about until I read your piece on
Yeah.
this.
So
Dude, this is a wild story. Give us
this
a
story
breakdown of everything that happened here. This is a wild story.
this story is insane.
This
Okay.
will be a
So
documentary. This will be a
yeah,
documentary story. Yeah.
this will definitely be something like that. I mean, like there's like a full Twitter thread I saw on it and other things, but it's fucking wild. So essentially it's this company that works in like blockchain tech. There are an investment company. They were like one of the early people. I think they have like patents from the Ethereum network. So they're kind of like big into that space, like the Web3 blockchain kind of space. So essentially, how the story goes is this um, partner, Kavita Gupta, I believe is how you say her name. She managed and grew a fund from 13.5 million to over 300 million in just 2 years. And then she left and went to teach at Stanford. So, how this company works is um, I'm not sure how like other companies work, but how they worked at Consensus was essentially they got 20% of their profit. So I mean, that's a shit ton of money. I think it was like $50,000 and or 50 not 50,000, 50 million, excuse me. But she worked with her partner Joseph Lubin, and Lubin wouldn't pay, and said that I don't know his exact reasonings as why he wouldn't pay initially, and then Gupta went ahead and sued the company and Joseph Lubin. And so initially, Gupta sued, and she alleged she left because there was numerous cases of misogyny, hard drug use, and illegal payments. And according to Lubin, her partner, Gupta was asked to resign because she was lying on her resume. So Gupta is now also getting sued by Consensus in a separate following, which details Gupta lying about her degrees from Harvard and MIT, her former jobs at McKinsey and NASA, and that she had space tech patents. So she allegedly fabricated all of these documents and submitted them to Consensus to get this job. Did seemingly a great job at Consensus, but then was asked to leave, and nobody really knows why. And Consensus is now claiming that due to her lying about her resume, they're not going to give her her salary or her bonus or her equity back. But there's also another twist. So there's some intellectual property that Consensus and its subsidiaries like illegally transferred from like a Consensus Group to a Consensus Software Incorporated in exchange for 10% of ownership, and it offset a $39 million loan that Joseph Lubin took out. So essentially, this was called Project North Star. And so it seems like very sketchily, some money was transferred from one entity to another. And there's some sketchy things going on, and Gupta didn't get paid. So, in the midst of all this, there's also the mandatory, shareholder meeting because this company is a Swiss company, and instead of going through with this shareholder meeting, they kept delaying it, and then they delayed it until the IP was transferred, and then because it was transferred, the shareholders didn't get to vote on who was the I guess the president of the company. And so yeah, basically all this sketchy shit happened, and Gupta didn't get paid, but there's like now two lawsuits going on in all this.
I love that you're just super focused on Gupta not getting paid and all of this. Where it's like,
I mean, it's $50 million. Like, are you kidding me? How pissed would you be if you like help grow this thing from 13.5 million to 300, and you're like, all right, I'm getting out. Whatever the circumstances may be, like maybe you were forced out, maybe that, but it's like I fucking worked up for this shit like for 2 years. I helped your company make a lot of money, and now you're just like, money, you fucked up, so hands are free. Like, I mean, you saw Jeffrey Epstein get away with all of his shit that he did. Like, I mean, people scheme and do all this stuff all the time. Gupta didn't get $50 million. I would be fucking irate.
well, let me be very clear. I mean, the shit that Epstein was up to is a lot worse than Gupta not getting her 50 mil. All right.
That is
But
also fair. That is also very fair. But I mean, Epstein did like kind of the similar thing at the beginning of his career. He like
Well,
lied about his degrees and everything like that. So I mean, it's wild. This whole thing is fucking.
I'm just thinking about the documentary, and I'm thinking about like all of the things where something wild is happening and the viewers just consumed with it, and then the screen goes black and someone else pops up on an interview and they put themselves in their chair like that, and there's like a camera on them. Like, so tell us when you first met so and so or something. Or like, I was thinking, and then it twists to like, oh well, not only is this lady not getting paid and she's suing them, but then the screen goes black and they open up and a lawyer's like, well, yeah, she lied about her entire resume. Like, did they tell you that? Did they tell you that she lied about everything on her resume and she didn't have any patents or anything? And then the screen goes black and they come up and they're like, oh, well, actually there was this illegal transfer of IP, and and then they were delaying these board meetings, and so no one could vote. They were illegally delaying board meetings so that nobody could vote on these things. Like, the whole story is absolutely wild. I can't wait for the documentary. Moss is not here, so I can say it. I hope that is maybe a Netflix documentary. I still have my account. So I wouldn't be upset if it came out on Netflix.
I know, it's absolutely insane. It's definitely like something that you would think that would only come out in a movie. It's not like something that you would think is real life, but these Web3 and Ethereum companies are doing it. So I wonder why.
Yeah, that's the other thing. That's the other thing too. Like these are the people. First of all, there's a company, so you're obviously not decentralized, right? And then these are the people that are doing it. These are the people that are in charge. I also want to point out how wild is it. So, like, again, it's alleged that she lied about all this stuff on her resume. Suppose she comes in with absolutely nothing, lied about everything, came in, still did what? I mean, what, 10x? No, more than 10x, right? What'd you say went from
Are you
13
kidding
million?
me?
13
million
million
to 300 million.
Yeah, so insane.
Yeah,
Talk about
insane return.
like the whole thing is you fake it till you make it, and then once you make it, you cash out. That's what she was doing. That's her game. That's her hustle. I respect Gupta.
But she still didn't get paid, and now she's in a
hasn't gotten paid.
lawsuit for all this. Like,
Whose side are you on?
honestly, this is something that I want to, like, a trial that I want to follow, because it's like, what the fuck?
Have you picked a team yet? Have you picked which side you're on?
I don't know, man. I got to see some details that come out first. But I mean,
you don't want to
it's tough.
You don't want to pigeonhole.
I don't want to be on the wrong side, to be honest with you, because it seems like she alleged misogyny, drug use. Okay, come on. Like, if we're not gonna say like all these like big ass bank companies, like some shit's happening like that, I don't know. Hand up. I don't know. I mean, like, we've all seen Wolf of Wall Street. We've all seen like all that kind of shit. Like, that's what it kind of she's making it sound like. And then she's like, "Well, I lied, but they were mean to me." So,
but I'm telling the truth about this.
Yeah. So I don't.
It's all alleged, right? Like, it's just the company alleging that she lied too. So we don't know the details on either side. I agree. I'm going to wait to pick sides, I think.
I mean, you want to see NASA getting in on this, be like, we actually hired her or we didn't? Like, I don't know. This is going to be some wild. I mean, it's $50 million at the line. So there's going to be like, everybody's going to be coming out, and there's going to be some serious fucking dirt that comes. And now she's just a teacher at Stanford. So imagine like being like in her class, like, be like, what up, Dr. Gupta? Like, I gotta go. I mean, what the fuck? I mean, these are the people teaching the youth, and now we gotta deal with all this. I mean, this is some wild shit, to say the least.
I just can't get over that at every point in that story, you're like, and then this happened, and Gupta still hasn't been paid.
That's all I got. That's all I'm gonna keep coming back to.
Your
I
team
mean, like,
Gupta, man.
imagine you do all this shit and then you just don't see any money.
Just imagine, like you're trying to play it off, but you're very obviously Team Gupta. I wish you luck. I mean,
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Back up. I think everybody should get paid, but I'm not Team Gupta yet. Keyword yet. All right, let's move on to the next story. Dan, what do you got? You got something on Bit Farms?
yeah. So this actually came out last Friday, but we streamed last Thursday, so we didn't get to cover it. I just wanted to talk a bit about Bitfarms signing this new financing deal with BlockFi. So it's a what was it, $32 million financing deal that's going to go towards equipment that they technically already have. It's just over 6,000 Bitmain Pro miners, and yeah, I think it's big. Bitfarms is supposedly opening up a mining farm in Argentina this year. Construction has already begun, it looks like, and they just opened one in January, or went full operational with one in January in Paraguay. So I love to see it. They're big, obviously, in Canada. Most of their mining is based out of Quebec, I believe, and they are trying to expand those operations, but I love to see them moving into LATAM. And they also have an operation in Washington, the state of Washington in the US. So this is the kind of stuff that I've been looking at for miners. I think global distribution or a global footprint of their operations is massive right now. With all of the regulatory uncertainty, I think you need to have this. I think you can't be too concentrated in one area. But for this story specifically, I think this kind of financing deal is really going to help them focus their growth capital on these new startup operations in LATAM. So really excited to see it. This operation in Argentina is supposed to be massive. It's supposed to add like 210 megawatt capacity. It will more than double their existing capacity. So, man, I'm excited to see it. I'm a big Bitfarms guy. Full disclosure, I am a Bitfarms stockholder. So full disclosure on that, I'm super bullish on them. I love seeing everything that they're doing here. I think they're making a lot of smart moves.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you here. So, the things I like to see about in a new company is they're hyper focused on one thing, and in a company, especially like Bitcoin miners, I like to see them diversified because they're not, like you said, focused on one jurisdiction. So we've seen kind of Canada have a little bit of backlash, not on miners specifically, but on Bitcoin the asset and crypto as a whole. And so I believe that, moving forward and just bouncing around like this is perfect. And I think that, yeah, like you said, why not move to a place like, El Salvador or LATAM where it's becoming very friendly. It's probably got cheap energy as well, and it's got a lot of natural resources, and diversify. So you're not under one jurisdiction. I mean, where can you
Yep.
go wrong with that? I mean, it seems like a no brainer, and they're doing it. So good on Bitfarms. I'm not a holder directly, but I do have WGMI. So
That's a
yeah.
mistake. That's a big mistake. We've got Defiant in the chat. It's a mistake that you're not holding BitF. Not advice, obviously, never advice, but it's a huge mistake on your part.
Well, Dan, it's your last episode, so you can give advice, can't you?
No, I don't think I ever can. I am not a I'm not in any way a qualified person to go to for investment advice. Trust me. Defiant here saying Quebec may just turn out to be a Bitcoin hotspot. It certainly looks that way. Defiant Bitfarms operates currently 5 mining centers in Quebec, and they're expanding those this year. So again, yeah, I mean it's a lot of cheap energy apparently, but at the same time, you never know, because if Canada decides to make a move against Bitcoin, then it doesn't matter if there's cheap energy; they're not going to get a hold of it, right? So I love to see it as long as Canada stays bullish on this sector. I'm fine with it. But if they don't, I love to see them expanding into LATAM. It seems like the LATAM countries are more than happy to have these people come in and hopefully bring some economic boom with them.
Well, exactly. I mean, why wouldn't you be? For like the countries like LATAM, there are the small countries like in LATAM, when these jurisdictions like the United States or something like that is like not very friendly to Bitcoin miners, and they just welcome in this giant industry. I mean, it just makes complete sense. So, all right, let's move on to my last story. Since you don't have your PhDs hanging behind you, we can't, obviously confirm this pinned thing that you got here. But yeah, let's go. My last story is on the Ukraine. So there's a few different stories I've seen on this. Um, Bitcoiners have been very, very generous and donated, millions worth of Bitcoin. We've also seen, some shitcoiners get in and also donate. We saw the CEO of Polkadot donate over 5 million, and then we've also seen Brains, the company, set up a slush pool where you can donate some of your hash rate and donate, to Bitcoin. Basically, donate Bitcoin through your mining operation as well. So, overall, it seems Bitcoiners are very much helping the Ukraine out in any way that they can, and sending money and trying to help them, fight this war. We've talked about it in a few other things. It's very tough to see. It almost seems like something else is looming, and bigger things are looming ahead. But we hope that the funds that these Bitcoiners are sending and everything like that is kind of, helping going forward. And yeah, I mean, what else you got on there?
Yeah, I mean, look, Bitcoin's apolitical, right? You've got Russians flocking to ATMs, at least from the things I've seen. There's a mini bank run there in Russia, and you're seeing all-time highs of Bitcoin ruble exchanges on things like Binance. So it's apolitical. People in Russia want it. People in Ukraine want it. It's an apolitical tool at the end of the day. And so, I'm happy to see it. You should be able to do whatever you want with your money, man. So if you want to give it to Ukrainians, give it to Ukrainians. If you want to give it to Canadian truckers, give it to Canadian truckers. That's what this is. That's why it's here. That's why we have it. And you can do it. I don't see people shipping gold bars over to the Ukraine. I heard there was an airdrop. I don't think they were dropping gold bars from the sky, but I might be wrong about that. I don't know. Like, this is what Bitcoin is, man. This is point in case. Like, if you haven't seen it over the last 5-6 weeks, that this is Bitcoin's value proposition, then you're not paying close enough attention. That's my opinion, man. I know I'll keep it short and sweet on this one, but it's like, boom, it doesn't matter. You want to support Ukrainians, support Ukrainians. You want to support Russians, support Russians. You want to support Canadians, support Canadians. This is what Bitcoin's here for. I don't care which side of the aisle you're on. You can use it for
Well,
either side.
exactly, right? So we're seeing bank accounts being frozen in Russia. We're seeing like United States freezing out Russian bank accounts and anything with Russian connection. We're seeing everybody freeze out Russia, right? So if Ukraine, or if they had some sort of connection with Russia and Russia froze out Ukrainian bank accounts, this is the way to do it, right? So you send crypto and Bitcoin payments, specifically just Bitcoin, in our opinion, but we've also seen some shitcoiners be generous. So, I got to give props where props are due. When you donate, yeah, it's definitely, a positive at the end of the day. We believe the hardest asset possible, but, yeah, you want to interject there?
Yeah, I'll cut you off. I'll cut you off, and I won't apologize for it. No, man. Like, look, it's fine. Like, I agree 100% with you. Like, I appreciate the generosity. Again, you should do whatever you want with the money that you have, so long as you've earned that money and you haven't done something like stolen it. But what was the big one that was trending? Polkadot or something was the big one, right? So I don't know much about Polkadot, but I saw that there was like a major bagel, or like a CEO or something was saying that he would donate it, but it was his own coin. So here's the thing: you can donate money, and thank you for donating money. Whatever, it doesn't matter which side it went to. Donate to whatever you want to donate to. That's your prerogative. But at the end of the day, that's not Bitcoin. And the reason it's not Bitcoin is because a CEO of the token that they're donating is donating it. Like, that's centralized to a T. You are not dealing with a decentralized currency. The reason Bitcoin could act like this throughout all of time is because it's decentralized. Like, there is no CEO, there is no centralization, there is no single failure point. So, like, again, thanks for the donations. But But at the end of the day, it's like if you're donating fiat, it's the same thing. It's not the same as Bitcoin.
Well, I agree with you 100%. It's a publicity stunt at the end of the day, right? So you're pumping out your shit coin and you're telling all these people like, "Hey, I'll do this." He even tweeted at like the Ukrainian account and said like, if you put a Polkadot address, I'll donate. So it's like it's kind of like, a double-edged sword at this point. It's like you're willing to donate, but only if it's in your shit coin.
Wait,
So
Brandon, does the hat feel weird with only one can up there?
yeah, I mean, look, it's like kind of fucking up my ear over here, but I'll play through it.
Oh,
Big time.
you got like the 50 cent
Yeah,
kind of, that's
it,
sick. And
it's
then,
the
so wait,
yeah.
so when you're drinking, it emptied that other can first. It didn't start emptying that one. Oh, you had to switch it on the back.
Yeah, I don't know, man. The tea isn't really working. One was pumping out quick, and the other one wasn't, obviously. So I mean, it feels like this one's like still like halfway full, but I drank this complete other one, so I
Wow.
don't I don't know. You can't make this up. But anyway, yeah, the CEO of Polkadot. I appreciate the donation, but don't be a fucking scumbag. Just do it in Bitcoin or Ethereum. Like don't pump your shit coin. Like come on, man. And
Well,
it
look, I
was
mean,
kind of like implied by his tweet too that it was like, "Hey, I won't donate unless you do this." So it's like holding a country that's fucking in war hostage at a certain aspect. It's like what kind of it's foolish. It's bullshit. It's bullshit is what it is.
yeah, well, to play devil's advocate a bit, right? Like if he fully believes that Polkadot is the future of money, you know, that's what you're going to do. You're like, well, but maybe you do it in a different way. Maybe you'd say, hey, like I'd love it if you did a Polkadot. Like, I'd love to meet with somebody in your Ministry of Finance or whatever they've got over there to talk about why we think this is the best. But yeah, I don't know. I don't own Polkadot. Obviously, I'm Bitcoin only. But yeah,
Yeah, me neither. But it's also been like, I mean, if you go and look at the guy's tweet, he kind of got ripped apart. And it was kind of like alleged, like, all right, you don't want to sell or swap Polkadot into ETH or Bitcoin or USDT because you'll get some tax hit or something like that. So, I mean, there's all these different things, like all these theories out there. But at the end of the day, you gotta, I mean. I guess shitcoiners are gonna shitcoin at the end
yeah,
of the day.
I guess yeah. If he would have swapped, it would be considered a taxable event, and he would have to pay taxes on it. So he was just going to donate, and then you've got a tax write off if you donate. So look,
Exactly.
we can all sit back and say these things, but at the end of the day, like when push comes to shove, when the rubber hits the road, chances are we're all going to do stuff like this too. Like you're going to be like, well, why would I swap into Bitcoin and donate it when I've got a bunch of Polkadot that may or may not have been pre-mined in my bag? Like, am I going to take a tax hit and swap, or am I going to just ask the Ukraine to spin up a Polkadot wallet? I don't know, man. This is the kind of stuff that I just don't. I saw that people were making a big deal about it on Twitter. I just didn't even. I didn't even really look into it. It's just kind of this stuff is kind of like noise to me. Like I'm not gonna. It's not gonna change my mind one way or the other about Polkadot. I've got no interest in looking into it because I know what Bitcoin is, and I know Polkadot is obviously not going to be Bitcoin because nothing's going to be Bitcoin other than Bitcoin. So I just don't even look at this stuff anymore, man, to be honest.
But at the end of the day, it has us talking about it, and that's the
Yeah.
guy's point, right?
Yeah,
And
that's true.
um, so I guess good on him for the publicity stunt, but you know, we don't believe in that. I believe in Bitcoin's like the hardest money there is. So, um, I hope people end up seeing that, and yeah, that's all we can hope for at this point. Everybody's got to go through somewhat of their shitcoin journey, I guess. But yeah, all right. So let's move on. What others? Oh, that I guess that's the last story we got. Damn. So we kind of flew through this. It was kind of like a light news week, don't you think?
Yeah, we didn't see much going on. I don't know. I still kind of go back to this idea. We talked about it, I think, on our Sunday Scaries pod this week. I think everything that's happening in Europe just has that's on the forefront of everyone's minds, and there's just not a lot of stuff happening. It seems we're still waiting for that executive order. We had Powell, I think, saying a few strange things today or yesterday, maybe, about there could be more than one reserve currency, which is strange for the Fed chairman to be saying that. Doesn't look great for the US dollar, in my opinion, but then also saying that, cryptocurrencies used for money laundering and things like that, and to skirt sanctions, and we shouldn't tolerate that kind of thing. Uh, I don't know. I didn't actually see the interview with Powell, so I don't know exactly what he said, but the sources that I saw posting about it are trustworthy sources. So I don't know. I'm not surprised by anything this guy says. I think the other thing that came out was that Canada raised. We've got a bunch of Canadian boys. What was it? 25 bips, the rate raise.
Yeah, so I think the United States will probably follow suit and do
Yeah,
the same thing. But at the same time, I agree with you there. Powell saying there's chance for more than one global reserve currency. Pretty interesting.
and then to
Don't
watch
really
the market.
expect that. I mean, he's basically just admitting the U.S. dollar shit at this point,
Yeah,
right? I
you have
mean,
to understand it by now. And then, it's like, yeah, India and Russia going rupee ruble for their deals, China, Russia going with the euro for their deals. Um, I'd love to know whether or not Putin's trying to orange pill Xi right now so they can just switch from the euro over into Bitcoin. But yeah, I mean, this stuff's falling apart quick, and I think at some point people have to wake up to it. I don't know. It's going to be crazy. I agree too, though. I think we're probably going to see 25 bips. Interesting to see the market pump on this kind of news, because it seems like maybe the market was pricing in, I don't know, maybe 50, maybe 75.
yeah.
Um, so
I mean, yeah. The market's kind of been all over the place. It's been up one day, down one day, and I think it was down today as well. But I mean, it's just kind of like the people will say, the same shit about Bitcoin. Like we have in our newsletter, not to pump our own brakes, but we have like a little Bitcoin FUD thing that we write, right? And we went through like all the different FUDs that we've seen in the past, and one of them was Bitcoin is too volatile, and the other one was Bitcoin could be stopped by governments. So I would check those things out and just show, like, look at like the Canadians, for example. They said they got angry at Brian Armstrong, CEO of Coinbase, and the CEO of Kraken, for talking about putting Bitcoin in cold storage. So I mean, it's like all these things, like all this different FUD is just kind of rinse, lather, and repeat. And at the end of the day, it's just like Bitcoin is not going to stop. It's going to keep going through its cycle. It's going to keep going through, and it's going to keep on pumping. I mean, I just don't even know what to say at the end of the day anymore, because it's like, Powell and all them, they're going to say like, oh, it's used for illegal activity and all this and that, but they don't realize like the number one currency used for illegal activity is the United States dollar, and that they're just handing over cash. I mean, it's like, when Pablo Escobar had fucking billions of dollars worth of money, what did he have it in? US dollars, hard cash, right? He didn't have it in Bitcoin. He didn't have it in anything else. Bitcoin obviously wasn't there at any point anymore. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, the dollar has been used for illegal activity well more than cryptocurrency, I believe. So uh,
a question too, Brandon, is that we've seen in how many countries now. So it happened in India, it happened in Russia, I believe it happened in Thailand, where the central banks in all of these countries, maybe there isn't a central bank in Thailand actually, but for sure in India and in Russia, the central bankers came out and said basically, like, we need to have a blanket ban on this stuff. But then their regulators came back and said, no, we're not going to do a blanket ban. So I'm trying to figure out, like, is that going to be different in the US if our central bank says, and also, what's their second reserve currency? If it's not the US, like, what are they prepping for? Are they saying that, well, like, to me, it sounds like those two things only make sense if you ban crypto or Bitcoin. Let's say you ban Bitcoin, and then the US dollar is still in the US, and that's our version of the reserve currency. That's what we want to pump. But then European countries or Russia, China, if they adopt Bitcoin as a reserve, the US needs to say, well, actually, there can be 2 reserves. Like, that's the only way this makes sense to me. So, look, you can take this as advice. Get your sats off of exchanges, man. Get those things into cold storage, because the easiest way, and start learning how to use non-KYC, non-regulated exchanges, because the easiest way for them to crack down on this stuff is the on-ramps. It's the exchanges, especially the ones that are publicly traded. If you think Coinbase isn't going to roll over the second they get a subpoena, you're out of your mind. So, start figuring this stuff out, man. It's going to be hard to figure it out, but start figuring it out and get your sats off exchanges.
Oh, I agree 100%. I'm starting to do that as well. So if anybody has any sats on exchanges or anything like that, I not to pump somebody else's stuff, but BTC Sessions has a great coin join video and everything like that, and I've used his videos, quite a bit to kind of help. So he's got a lot of great tutorials out there, and if anybody knows any other tutorials or anything like that, feel free to send it to the chat or send it to us, and we'll distribute it as well. So
yeah, interesting. Yeah, it's almost like you don't even know that our most watched video is our ledger tutorial. And then also, you can just keep in mind too, if you send me 1 Bitcoin, I will give you back 2 Bitcoin. So keep that in mind. That's a big deal.
What?
Yeah, if you just send me 1 Bitcoin to my wallet, I'll send you back 2 Bitcoin.
Oh yeah, well, my enemies are after me. So if you want to donate Bitcoin to me, feel free. Just reach out to me, and I'll send you my Ledger Bitcoin address. And
to be absolutely clear, I'm joking. Do not send me any Bitcoin. Don't send anybody any Bitcoin who you don't know and is promising.
Well, you guys all know me, so you could send me Bitcoin and tell Dan to fuck right off because he's leaving. So, if you want to send donations to keep this green candle thing keep going, keep doing it. So
yeah. So
all right.
Here's one. Bisq is one. Look into this stuff, man. Yeah, Bisq is something I'm looking into. There's a couple things I don't want to disclose. I know who's on this account. Maybe I'll chat them later. But yeah, maybe I'll cast a line out to the guy on this account here.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, let's wrap it. Dan, do you want to do the honor since it's your last one? Let's do it.
All right. I see we're at 57 minutes, so I'm going to try to wrap this up before we hit to 65. We're Green Candle Investments. We do 1 newsletter on Sunday, 1 newsletter on Friday. We do a podcast on Sunday. We do a podcast on Thursday. Yeah, I messed it up already. Look, guys, this is my last one. I appreciate all the support. Brandon, thank you so much for including me on this venture. This was your idea from the get-go. I was just here to lend a helping hand, and it's cool to see how much we've grown. And it's awesome that we've made some of these friends that we've made. But going forward, man, no, I'm going to let you sign off because you're going to be the one doing everything going forward. As bad as you are at signing off, I'm going to give you the honors. But thank you, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Dan, you'll be missed. I know it's like your swan song and everything like that. But yeah, the show will go on. I will still be putting out 2 newsletters a week. One on Monday, where I'll do like a stock breakdown, and then one on Friday where I'll keep the state of Bitcoin. I'm going to keep doing the podcast, but the streams are TBD. I'm going to try to start getting more guests and everything like that. So if you guys know any guests that want to be on our podcast, please let me know and send them our way or tweet at them and us. And then, from there, we'll stream probably and more of a sporadic schedule because it'll require, the guest schedule opposed to just mine. But I will release the podcast still on Fridays, and then I will release the other podcast probably still on Sundays. So yeah, if you guys got any suggestions for the Sunday Scaries or the State of Bitcoin podcast, the show will go on. So please support me. Just because it was me and Dan, it's now just me by myself, and I'm all lonely.
Support is circling the drain on the news that I'm leaving. It's really sad to see. Sad to see it, man.
It's tough. But I'm a dog at the end of the day, and Dan is a little puppy, so he got put in a cage, and It makes sense. You know, if you ever need to go to training, young puppy, just let me know, and I can tell you how to be a fucking dog like your boy over here.
All right, Brandon. As always, man, good catching up. We'll see you tomorrow in the spaces.
Yep, Dan's last space is tomorrow, his swan song. So everybody be sure to be in the spaces.
Peace.